All right. So two things. I've mentioned this guy before. His name is Nathan Rich. Uh, he's got a YouTube channel, a social media channel. I strongly advise people to watch Nathan Rich. As a matter of fact, Nathan has 1 million subscribers. I think recently he was announcing that he had 1 million subscribers worldwide. Um Most of them, I'm sure, are Western based, and there's a good reason why Nathan has such a big following. So Nathan recently did a video about the New York Times propaganda about coronavirus. You should watch that. Uh, Nathan is very objective. Uh, he doesn't do bias. He doesn't do bias. Um, and he doesn't have and he likes to be truly fair and balanced. He goes on objective facts on the ground, which is really what he does is he likes to stick with truth. Uh, Nathan is somebody I really respect. He seems to think of himself as a conservative, but one thing you have to understand: stop using labels on yourself. Uh, what it is you have those people. This is the way I look at it. You have people who like to stick with truth and objectivity, and then you have those who like to stick with illusion and fantasy, and those who like to stick with lies, deceit, deception, and self promotion and uh, interested self interest for power, for notoriety, and all those. And those are the smaller numbers of people. And those are generally the ones who either have money or have connections to money and power. So uh, and then there's a smaller amount of those who are just delusional, who listen to those who have money and power and influence and can't think for themselves, can't see through the veil of deception and deceit, and just buy and live in perpetual fear and anxiety, and just like a well trained dog, you just point and stick and say attack. So they just become attack dogs. Uh, but another one, and this is not to endorse Democracy Now. I have talked about Democracy Now a lot, but Democracy Now has been for some years going downhill. Uh, they keep doing propaganda. They keep pushing the narratives of the mainstream or the propaganda media in the West. But uh, to be fair with Democracy Now, they do they do cover uh, they do actually cover real news, real journalism, uh, and they're not completely they haven't been completely taken over. Um, I'm deeply disappointed in Amy Goodman, because this is a woman that civil was a civil rights lawyer. She was at Standing Rock. She has the right sort of understanding in many ways, but she is clearly not principled in everything. There are some ideological fallacies that she can't seem to put aside and stick with the truth. So, having said that, Democracy Now! Did a piece on the coronavirus and how Trump and other politicians, as well as the U.S. propaganda media and the Western propaganda media, have been trying to push this idea that coronavirus is a Chinese virus, an Asian virus, which has caused an uptick in violence against Asians, particularly people that look like me, and I'm not Chinese. Uh, so, uh, but the reason I wanted to mention it is because this video came out 3 weeks ago, and this is something that surprised me because I wasn't aware of it. But I do remember the swine flu epidemic, and constantly seeing on the propaganda media, and I think a lot of you who were paying attention at the time to what the propaganda media was putting out. There was constant talk about the cases of swine flu and the pseudo pandemic that was happening in China and so on and so forth, and it was just being hammered and hammered. But anyways, going back to Democracy Now!, they were just talking about that, and one thing that Amy Goodman pointed out is that swine flu actually took place in the U.S., started in the U.S., and then spread around the world. But for some reason, the U.S. media was making it sound like it was the epicenter was China, and that China was the one spreading this, and there was also the MERS outbreak, and how the U.S. media again centered on China, but also in Africa. Except that happened in the Middle East. That was where it started. So, again, this just goes to show how the U.S. media, U.S. news media, these so-called journalists, are nothing more than propagandists, and that's clearly is logical sense because it is the Western and U.S. So-called business people, captains of industry, the makers and providers of everything we buy, and so on and so forth, who own the establishment media. Whether you're the New York Times, the Washington Post, CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, they're the ones that own the media. These are the billionaire class, the criminal class, who keep saying, "Oh, we're vital. Oh, we should get all the money because we're the ones providing the jobs." Except they're the ones who are shoveling money towards the politicians who are passing legislation and regulations and other things to favor these criminals. And the thing is they don't produce anything. Microsoft, another one is Current Affairs. Check out Current Affairs with Nathan. What's his name? Nathan Robinson. current affairs magazine. There, you can find it on YouTube, and they give us a perfect synopsis of what Microsoft and Apple and IBM and you name it are. It was money that was given as grants and others to the U.S. People in the U.S. who did the research, and then Bill Gates and all these other assholes. They found a way, an avenue to get to be able to purchase legality and branded as their own through patents and trademarking and all that other stuff. So it wasn't even shit that they came up with. It was money that taxpayers funded for the research, and they got it from the DoD or from this agency or that agency or this agency or that agency. And then they say, "Oh, we're the job creators. Oh, we're the innovators." When they didn't do shit, they didn't do jack shit. It's the same thing with that other idiot that creates Tesla cars. He's another asshole that just gets thrown bones thrown at them so that they can label it as their innovation, and the media just keeps pumping out the propaganda. It just as I knew back in the mid to late '80s that all the drugs that we count on were overwhelmingly funded in research by us through the agencies and through independent research companies. Research teams and colleges and so on and so forth. They were getting funded by us, and then you have these rich assholes who bought the rights and patents to these drugs, and then they marked it up in a ludicrous, insane amount, so that they can pull every red cent out of everybody. This is how it works. That's a criminal conspiracy. And these people all should be in jail. They should be termed as mafias and organized crime. But they're legitimate because the media says so, because the politicians said so, or because the agencies, which the politicians and the businesses are staffing with people from those businesses, or those who are doing lobbying on behalf of those businesses. And the term calling them businesses isn't a business. It's organized crime. And the thing is Bernie Sanders, for all his pushing for things that will actually help the people. Bernie Sanders has a lot of flaws, in that if he truly believed in it, he would have run his campaign differently. He would have done his job when he was from mayor to Congress person to senator. He would have done his job differently. He would have been more than a thorn. He would have been a rabble rouser. He should have been vicious like Trump, but basing it on truth. He should have attacked those assholes, those criminals that he calls co-workers. AOC, she was on the right track. She was doing, and now she's turning the other way. Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and all those, they all should have been aggressive. They all should have been pointing out, you're criminals. I have legitimacy. You don't. You're criminals. You should be in jail. When they're on CNN and MSNBC and The View and whatever, or PBS, they should have been saying, no, you're part of the criminal conspiracy. You are the criminals. You are the propagandists. You should be behind jails. That's the way they should have been. They should have been doing that and pointing out exactly why. You know, Bernie Sanders got the title of Amendment King, but that's another problem. You have a farm bill, but then they put in something that has nothing to do with farming. You know, it may be like you have a farm bill, and then like how much sense would it be to have a farm bill, and then you put in provisions and amendments for abortion, so that you can make abortions illegal. How much sense does that make? That's what happens constantly. Bernie should have seen through that and said, no, that's bullshit. That's criminal. Not only is the farm bill criminal, but the abortion amendment and provision is criminal. This is the sort of shit. This is why we should be out there. We should be dragging these people out of office. We should be telling them, walk yourself to jail. We should be marching on NBC studios. We should be marching on CNN studios. We should be marching on your local studios, Fox, ABC, CBS, all of them. We should be marching on all of them. We should be there dragging them off the airwaves, putting actual journalists there. We should be going to the Les Moon, whatever, from CBS. We should be dragging him out and telling him to walk to jail or go to or be hung in the street. This is the sort of stuff we should be doing. And this is why media constantly puts the non-violent crap. Because, as I said before, non-violence works only if there's a level playing field. Only makes sense when there's a level playing field. Freedom of speech only works if there's a level playing field. Only if it's completely and utterly equal. And only if it's based on truth. Otherwise, it's there just to protect those who are in power and those who are influenced by those in power. Whether it's political or the so-called business, or even political, you get my point. We should be showing not just outrage, we should be showing force. Because otherwise, all we're going to do is continue to dig and dig and dig ourselves in. We're going to stop digging. Because otherwise, we might as well just continue digging. No, stop continuing digging. And we should be just dragging the dirt behind us and burying ourselves. And extinguishing ourselves. Because that's what it comes down to. It's time to shut up and put up. That's how it works. Right has a lot of faults. And I hate using these terms. Because the right is basically they're just demented attack dogs. Whether you're a liberal, centrist, or even those on the left who keep forgetting what they stand for and protect and make excuses for Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. You know, for those type of people, they have some of the right instincts, but we need to hold them to account. We need to push them in the direction of truth. We need to lead them to show force. Civility only works if the playing field is equal. When those who are champions of deceit and deception attack, even though they know that it's hypocrisy or it's bigoted or racist, but they do it anyways, we need our leaders, those who stand for truth and actual justice. We need to push them to say, no, we're not putting up with it. We are the many, you are the few. You will do as what the many want, or you will face the consequences. And the consequences can be grave. It won't be just your resignation. It won't be just your lack of freedom and being put behind bars. It will be your lives on the line. This is what we need in our leaders. Leaders who see the truth and speak the truth and forcefully project those truths. This is why the people in the West are losing IQ. This is why the intelligence has gone down dramatically. Even in our so-called higher education, and even through our 1 to 12 K education. We are becoming dumber, stupider, and more pliant because we keep allowing these criminals. We have to understand equality on a personal level that projects out to the greater community. And that requires understanding on a personal level of what equality is. And you can't have that if we keep allowing the criminals to hold the power, the influence. Thank you for your time.